So today's guest on my podcast is a very special guest. This is the person that I believe really introduced me to my love for food. So of course my mom had to, give me some food in order for me to actually eat, when I was younger. But as far as once I got older, the person who really gave me the true love for food is my best friend. And today you have the honor to meet her and meet her why she loves food so much too. And you'll just understand, we don't even know what that one thing is yet, but we've been friends for 20 plus years. So in this conversation, you'll hear it, you'll see it. And without further ado, please welcome Aizya Ali Mohammed.
Oh, I was wondering if you were going to answer on the end. Oh my gosh. Hi. Yes, I'm Aizya Ali Mohammed now. Thank you for remembering that. I was wondering if you were going to get that.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Zakira, for having me on your podcast. I'm honored. So, I'm really excited to be on Zakira's podcast. And when she talked to me about what topics we were going to do, and we decided on food, of course, I got excited because I love food. But the funny thing is that you said that, like, you got interested in food with me, but I remember, like, growing up and going to your house, and, like, your mom always had foods I had, like, never tried before. Or, like, she had foods that, like, I hadn't tried in that way. Like, I can still remember eating, like, apple butter and, like, squash for, like, the first time. Like, she always had, like, the healthy snacks. Or, like, we would have, like a fruit and cheese plate or something. Like, only at your house did I, like, get those types of things. So it's kind of, like, funny that you bring that up. Because your mom kind of, like, she kind of put those little seeds in me to, like, look for healthier options, too, for snacks. But I also did go to your house and eat a can of frosting, too, so.
And that's what's funny too, because when I would go to your house, it's like it's almost the same thing. It's like, okay, well, what's this? And I don't know if I like this, and how should I try it? And you'd be like, just try it, because there's a little twist to it. And that was a twist to it. Cool. Okay, so the $1 million question that almost everyone tries to plan for, but where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Oh wow, 5 years. Okay, so I think in 5 years, at least professionally, I want to be just doing something that really, really helps children as well as adults with their nutritional, like, deficiencies and issues with obesity, issues with a lot of weight-related conditions like heart disease and diabetes and high cholesterol and all of those things. I originally just thought I'm going to be a dietitian. Like, I've been thinking I want to be a dietitian since I was 16 because I love food so much, but I wanted to be able to do something that would help people, that I could be good at. And I felt like I was pretty decent at, like, giving people advice and listening to them. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I learned is important with helping people with their weight or just with their nutrition or their health in general, is being able to be a good listener and being able to encourage someone. And I felt like I was pretty decent at that. So then I kind of started going towards the field of dietetics, in which, I would be able to do that in a clinical setting. And then, when you get in school and you actually start going through classes and you go through life, things change. And I realized that I did not have to be a registered dietitian to be able to do the things I wanted to do. So right now it's still up there as one of my options. It's still considered, a dream of mine, but I really have expanded my view in nutrition. And as I've taken more courses, I've realized that there are a lot of things that you can do with nutrition. There are a lot of areas in which you can work that are not just related to being a dietitian. So in 5 years, I just really want to be doing something that I feel fulfilled and that I feel like I'm making a difference and I feel like I'm helping people, and that could really be anything. And that kind of takes the stress off of me. So it really could be anything, but as long as I'm working with food and I'm helping people, that's where I want to be at. And when it comes to personal goals, I think we'll talk about this later, but I have my own issues with eating that I've had to overcome over the years. And I think in 5 years, if I could just be at the point where I felt more confident about that, and I felt like I, had a really good routine and I really felt strong about it, I think that would be amazing. And maybe a couple of kids. So we'll see.
Well, let's just go ahead and jump right into it then, because I know that I remember, whenever I was there, I would see it. I would just think cool. We just have another snack. I didn't think much of it. So, but of course, there's a lot of people that do struggle with it. So tell me more about your experience with emotional eating.
Yeah. So this is actually something that I just actually even allowed myself to admit. I feel like, how you have those little things and you're just like, I kind of know this is a problem, but you just don't really admit it to yourself. And that's kind of like that first step is like, I'm going to admit this to myself that like, I have a problem with this. So I think all throughout my life, if I look back, I've always had an issue with food. I've never actually been overweight, but I just always had like that kind of over obsession with food. And I mean, it's cool to like food, but it was getting to the point where I was solving all of my problems with food. And the problem with that is the more problems that I got, the more that I ate. And when I look back, I feel like one of the biggest times in my life that I was dealing with this is in college. And I know everybody knows about the Fresh and 15, where, you gain that weight and you have more freedom and you can kind of eat what you want to eat and there's food on campus. But I was taking it to a whole nother level. So I would constantly eat fast food, junk food, just like those quick calories, but I was hiding the food. And I was noticing that like I would do it like a couple of times a week where I would stop on the way home, I would get fast food, and then I didn't want my family to know, so I would like hide the trash in my car like underneath the seat, or I would throw it away at another grocery store. I would throw it away in the garbage, in the garage. And I was really, really, really having a hard time with anxiety and depression. It's also another area that I'm really passionate about is mental health. And at 16, I was diagnosed with severe anxiety and depression. And so that kind of, I think, skyrocketed the issues I already had with emotional eating, because now it was like, this is what I'm going to use to soothe myself. And it was just getting out of hand. And luckily, I wasn't gaining too much weight, but I mean, there are other issues that you can have even if you're not gaining weight, because those foods, they can cause inflammation. And they're just not good for you to be eating. You shouldn't be eating that many calories, and they're not fulfilling. They don't give you a lot of nutrients, and so you're tired, you're sluggish. And this is what I was going through. It was a cycle. I didn't feel good emotionally. The foods were probably triggering that. And so because I didn't feel good emotionally, then I would go eat more food. So constant issue. And then I think the guilt that I was feeling from it, I was embarrassed, I was ashamed, I didn't know who I could talk to. And I feel like no one would take me seriously because, for one, I was studying nutrition. So everyone's thinking like, you know what you're doing. Like people would constantly tell me like, how should I eat? Or like, you look like you work out and I know you know what you're doing. And that feeling kind of started to weigh on me. And then on top of that, like I said, I never really gained weight. So I was always considered to be at a healthy weight. So no one thought that I had issues with eating. So I've come a long way since then, but most recently I've been able to, really take a good look at myself and say, you do have an issue with this and it's okay. As I started to get to near the end of my career with school, I started to realize that I was actually afraid of admitting it to myself, because I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to help people. I was afraid that this issue that I had made me a hypocrite, because I was going in every day. I used to work as a health and wellness counselor, and I was encouraging people to eat healthy and to not, get caught up in their emotional eating. But I was also dealing with it. I literally leave work and have the same issue myself. So I felt terrible. And then I realized that this does not make me, any less of a counselor. And if anything, it actually made me able to connect with those people better, because I knew from firsthand experience how it felt. And I knew what tactics I was using at this point to be able to battle it. And it's going to be a lifelong battle, and that's okay.
I love it. You dropped so many gems. So many gems. Bomb drop. So I had a podcast episode. If I have my numbers correct, it's episode 7 with Dr. Adrian Pinckney. And she briefly talked about choosing what makes you feel good, but what's really good for you. So she gave the example of, okay, I can eat this piece of cake, I can eat this ice cream now. It will feel good for a temporary moment, but how, what can I do to show for long term, feeling good? So what do you encourage for those who do want to eat healthy, but all they know is dairy, fast food, junk food, all that?
Mm-hmm. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's kind of referred to as like intuitive eating, like not really focusing on like eating a particular way, but listening to your body and knowing what things actually make your body feel good. And I think nowadays people are really tuning into certain things that do cause them inflammation or cause them to get like an upset stomach. And those are the things that you want to possibly eliminate from your diet, or find a way to just have them in moderation. So I definitely had a huge issue with not just eating things that made me feel good. And I had to kind of, take a step back and start thinking, well, like, what is triggering me to eat those foods? So I would say the biggest thing you can do is a food diary. And, luckily we don't have to use the old school, like pen and paper. We have apps now that even allow you to mark down your emotion when you're feeling hungry. So if you want a piece of chocolate, you have to sit there and think first, okay, I'm going to eat this piece of chocolate, or I want this piece of chocolate. Why do I want it? Am I feeling sad? Am I eating it because I truly want the chocolate, or am I trying to fix something that happened earlier in the day, or something that's, stressing me? So I think stopping and not just immediately giving yourself that, food is going to help. Just taking a step to, constantly write that down or make a note of it, and then trying to think, okay, is there another option? So can I do something else that makes me happy? And for me, there were other things that made me happy. It's just I was so in the habit, I was so conditioned to think that food was just the easiest way to get rid of the pain. And like you said, it doesn't really help, because I always felt guilty, I always felt ashamed, and I knew I didn't really want it. So if you look behind me, I have some art back there, and this is one of the things that I kind of started to pick up over the years that actually helped me to deal with a lot of the emotions that I was feeling, and it was an outlet. So think about doing something else before you even get to that space. One thing I would tell my clients is, like, think of a list of maybe even just 5 things that you could do the next time you have a craving. And then sit there and think, is this something that I want because of my emotions, or is something I really want because I'm actually hungry and I need this food? What is it going to do for me? What is chocolate going to do for me? So if you can't decide that you don't want to eat something, at least eat something that's going to have more nutrients, and have those ideas already on hand of things that you can have them already in your fridge. If you're out, make sure you already have a snack, something that you can eat that's going to at least be beneficial or functional for your body. And if it's not food, which is probably the better option, if you have that toxic relationship with food, you're trying to get away from treating everything with food. So look for something that is an activity, or talking to a friend, or going for a walk, or dancing. Do something that fulfills you and is healthy for you other than eating food.
Boom. I love it. So mental health is definitely important. Self-care is definitely important. I feel like this year is the year where everyone's really joining the movement as far as, being more consciously aware of their own mental health. I mean, we all deal with it. So what are ways that you deal with your mental health and have a handle on it?
So I would say the biggest thing is just not feeling bad when my mental health does flare up, because I think that was one of the issues I dealt with the most. And I feel like if you have any of these conditions that are, you're diagnosed with, you're probably going to have a flare up here and there. There are certain things that are going to trigger it, and stress is going to come and it's going to trigger it, and you can't always avoid it, but don't, let it get you down. I kind of just like tell myself, I'm not perfect, but I try to just tell myself, okay, I don't feel good for right now. Let me give myself a couple of hours to maybe be by myself and kind of collect myself. But then I have to stop feeling sorry for myself, and I have to get up and I have to do something. And even if it's just one little thing, I used to do this activity where I would just tell myself, if I can just do these 3 things at the beginning of the day, I would give myself a to-do list when I was really, really having, a hard time with depression, and say, if I can just do these 3 things, it doesn't matter what they are. If I can get them done by the end of the day, I can feel accomplished. I'm not going to think about what I didn't do. I'm not going to think about how I could have done it better. I'm just going to feel proud that I did do it. So sometimes you have to create small victories for yourself, and that's what's going to push you through until that, that little hard, rough patch is over.
I love it. I love it. So it's funny you mentioned that also, because I think it was also in my episode 6, I had a interview with Taisha Bella. She's an entrepreneur, publicist, the whole bit. But we talked about, we both were in an online class together, technically how we met, and then we happened to live around a corner. What a small world. But she talked about how, well, the importance of like writing down your small wins. So as small as I got up today, as small as I, kiss my husband today, something like that. So we can kind of talk more about that, like how just a matter of writing it down monthly, writing it down daily, of what small win did I do today. And it's good to be able to look back on that and say, you know what, it's not all bad, and it's not, it'll come back around.
Exactly. That's right.
So tell us about marriage life.
Well, so I've been married a little bit over maybe a month and a half, so not that long. Definitely.
You're newlywed.
And I've had to move as well. So it's not just being a newlywed, but it's also, moving to a different state. So I moved from Florida to Georgia. And it's actually been great. I mean, I know it's always an adjustment, doing something like that, but it's honestly been great. I think the best part of married life so far is being able to just be with someone that you consider your best friend all the time. And because we were long distance for a while, and just not being able to like be around them and see them whenever you felt like, I mean, FaceTime is amazing, but it just doesn't solve everything. So I feel like just being able to wake up and just see him, like the small things, and being able to just like cook for each other or just go to the store, it's really nice. It's a blessing.
So he's kind of had to focus on physical education and sports therapy, right?
Physical therapy. And he has a really strong interest in just exercise science and, rehabbing athletes and just personal fitness, working as a trainer, kind of all in that atmosphere. And he loves basketball and played basketball all throughout school. And now he's a basketball coach as well.
Very nice. So I feel like you get the best of both worlds. You with
I
your
know. It's
dietitian,
great because he can
nutrition.
kind of push me on that other end, because I'm not as disciplined with exercise. It's definitely, harder for me, but he's been an athlete his whole life. So it's nice to have somebody like right there that can kind of like push you in the best way. And then I get like a trainer for free. So it's nice.
Love it. Love it. All right. So we've been friends for a long time, girl.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, why? Not everyone had the ability to have that, through all ups and downs and still be friends. But why do you think it's so important to have that handful of friends that are, genuine?
Yes. So, I mean, I was thinking about this in college. I took a couple gerontology classes, which is just the study of like the aging process and like study of like older people and all the different lifestyle changes that they go through as they age. And they were comparing people who had lived to be extremely old, like maybe in their hundreds, to people who were kind of passing at like maybe 60 to 80 years old. And they were trying to find out the differences between their lifestyles. And one of the biggest differences they saw was that the people who lived longer had really strong social connections. And it wasn't even just that they had friends, but these were the same friends they had from childhood. And I thought that was really interesting, because I do feel like having those friends that you consider to be lifelong friends, or genuine, that are loyal, that you can always call on. It doesn't matter how much you see them, but just knowing that they're there, I really think that it does, improve your overall well-being, which leads usually to, a healthier life and a longer life. So I think just having those genuine friends, I don't know, it really just makes you feel like you have security, and they become your family. I mean, you know consider that all those years that you've had together, it doesn't, I know with me and you, it's like we've lived apart, we've lived together, we've gone to the same school, we've separated, you've been overseas before, but it's like I knew that you were always there. And I think it really, really does make you feel good, because I've never had like a big group of friends, but I feel like the friends that I did have were always very genuine. So it really is about quality over quantity.
Definitely, definitely. Yep. So let's see. Where have you traveled to then?
So not that many places. I really, really, really want to start traveling more. But I haven't been that many places. I have been to Paris, which was really nice. That was a gift from my sister.
Yeah, your
And I
sister's
was,
favorite place.
yeah, she's the jet setter. She's definitely always traveling, and she's really, really given me the opportunity to see some nice places. But Paris was great. I mean, I was like one of the few that actually wasn't like interested in going to Paris before I went, but it was a free trip. So then I went, and it was amazing. I mean, it's honestly like you can't explain it until you get there. But I just feel like there's just, I don't know, there's something in the air there. Like when you're just walking around, it really is a nice place to be. And it's everything about it, like the food, the museums, the art, the people. Everyone was so sweet. I didn't know any French, and everybody was just really, really nice and polite there. So I really enjoyed Paris. And then I went to the Bahamas on a cruise, which that was also really, really nice. Um, Other than that, I mean, I've been a couple of places in the U.S., not that much. I mean,
At least you've been places.
yeah, I've been a couple of places. I've been to Chicago, I've been to D.C., I've been to Maryland. I've been to a couple places here in the States, but not that much. So hopefully I can start traveling a little bit more because, I mean, I think you learn a lot about yourself when you travel, and you see how you interact with other people, and you truly get to, learn about other cultures like firsthand, and not just reading things from a book or looking at things on television. It's an amazing experience. So
where do you want to travel to though?
I really want to go to New Zealand, and my husband really wants to go to Amsterdam, and I definitely want to travel more around in the U.S. I would like to get to the West Coast. So I have been to Arizona and I've been to California, but California was like a snippet. I went to like Disneyland and that was it. So I would love to be able to go to Cali again and like actually like stay for a while and do other things besides Disney. But yeah, probably some other places in the States on the West Coast, maybe go up north a little bit, maybe check out like Jersey or something. So I'm open to everything. So
good. All right, well, where can we find you on the web?
Oh, well, right now, I've kind of become kind of minimal with where you can find me on the internet, but I am on Instagram. I always use my Instagram, and my username is that THAT German Coco. So it's that German Coco. And on there, I do post about fitness and nutrition, not as often. Hopefully I'll get more into that. I might just create a separate page, professional page, but as of now, that is where you can find me. And I do post, like if I have a recipe or I'm starting a new routine, I do post on there as well.
Well, as a personal marketing tip, don't create a new page. To keep
well, there we go. Easier for me. Easier for me.
And then people can also, professionals maybe can also connect with you on LinkedIn.
Yes. So Aizya Ali. So first name is AINZ as in zebra, YA, and then the last name is ALI. So on LinkedIn, Aizya Ali.
Now, rewind a little bit. Why is your username that German Coco?
I probably explained that. Okay, so I came up with my username like when Instagram like first came out, and I never changed it ever. So my parents were both in the military, and that's where they met. And then they had me shortly after. So I was born in Frankfurt, Germany on a military base. And I don't know, it's kind of just become one of those things. Like, I feel like it's not that interesting because if you're, from the military, I feel like everybody's born in Frankfurt. But like growing up, like everyone thought that was like amazing. So I would always tell people I was born in Germany. I wish we had stayed longer, but we only stayed a year. So I didn't like learn German or like, I don't remember anything. So hopefully I'll get back over to Germany. But that's kind of where I went with the German, and then Coco because I'm brown. So that's German Coco. Very simple.
Brown skin, beautiful. I love it. Well, thank you, Betsy.